Hey, you know what I don't think we get enough credit for anymore, Pastor Jeff?
What's that, man?
That very few people have to worry about missing a lot of football because of church.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I mean, when I was coming up,
you missed a couple of games or two.
You missed the good ones. I mean, we talk a lot about the church services that we used to have, how long church used to go. But I think we're forgetting like that other part, which is you used to miss a lot of good football.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't have to even worry about it on a Sunday morning, whether you're going to, most churches, you don't have to worry if you're going to miss the game or not. Or
most churches are out an hour and a half. It's funny because this morning when I was preaching, I was actually talked about my first church, Divine Assemblies over on Glenwood. We started church at 3:00.
That's the devil.
That was the devil.
Sorry, Pastor Barnes. Sorry, my man, but that's still the devil. I mean, you're just ending probably the good part of a 1:00 game and then missing the beginning of the 4 or 4:30 game.
Everybody out at dinner. You know, it was just, it was completely bad.
I mean, I just remember like the watch glancing. Like when we were younger, people looking at their watches as it, gets close. Them brothers that really weren't into church like that, they were just getting up and leaving.
Let them leave. Oh, they just left.
They're out.
Oh yeah.
They don't care. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's another sign of the times that we don't even have to worry about that. Like we used to try to say you'll be out before the game. Now it's like you'll be out before brunch.
Right.
You'll be out before brunch, which is crazy. So, but the other part of that is, have you witnessed or have you been guilty of the time creep since COVID shortened everything? Have you seen yourself creeping back up?
I haven't, and I think I don't think it's me though. I think because we do very little outside of praise and worship and word, which I absolutely love. That was my goal all the years of ministry, is to have worship and word. I mean,
not a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah, I mean, announcements. Oh, we don't do none of that stuff, man. So it's literally, songs, offering, word.
We do announcements, and it could be anywhere from a good 8 to 10 minutes of extra talking from me. If you combine all the various...
Somebody about to say 20.
Somebody about to say 20.
We're live, fellas.
Bruh. I do time. Y'all think I don't. I do. But I'm saying, I guess, okay, let me say it like this. For a lot of us, there are not as many diverse voices coming to the mic as before.
Absolutely.
That's the big thing.
Yeah, I think
most of us don't even have a person coming up to do announcements.
We used to have people come up, do announcements, had somebody else coming up, do the offering, had somebody else coming up, do prayer, all that different stuff.
And the problem was, no matter who came up to do it, the pastor was still going to follow with their own comments. So now it is just me. So I guess that's the blessing. So it is the comments that a pastor would make, but it's just that. It's just that. So y'all got to give me credit for that, Mike. I mean, it is just me. And I think I'm fairly efficient and try to make it a little entertaining when I do need to make different comments. But we seem to be able to shove more into a tighter window. I looked down and my watch said, when I was holding Shamika's hand, we're getting ready to walk out for benediction, 11:34.
Wow.
That's what I'm looking down at when I see. And I'm like, okay.
And you start at 10 o'clock, right?
Start at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
So, so I'm just, an hour, 40 minutes. That's slightly shorter for me. It's about me, but I always say I want to be an hour 30, but
we started at 10:45 and I was walking out today, and my sermon was a little longer today, and I'm generally not a long-winded preacher, but I was walking out at 12:40. So
you're almost 2 hours.
No.
You started at 10:45, you said.
11. Yeah. It was an hour and 40 minutes. No. Yeah, about an hour and 40 minutes, whatever it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
brought to you by.
Y'all, welcome to Religiously Incorrect. Sorry, y'all. What's up, y'all? Right, we just vibing.
We
just vibing. Well, you are watching if you don't know. Religiously Incorrect.
Brought to you by the African American Community Fund. The African American Community Fund, established in 2020 at the Foundation for Appalachian, Ohio, supports Black-led and Black-serving organizations throughout the 32 counties of Appalachian, Ohio, to elevate the quality of life and address disparities in African American communities. Please check them out at www.appalachianohio.org or give them a call at 740-753-1111.
So I got a question for you, Jeff. Have you ever had somebody give you a statement of support or affirmation, or encouragement or whatever, and or endorsement, and because of who they are, you weren't sure if you wanted it?
I would have to think on that. That's
because that's kind of how I'm feeling about Dick Cheney endorsing Kamala Harris.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I am not one to, as far back as I can remember, I'm not one to really think of endorsements as needle moving statistics. I think the last person who endorsed somebody that moved the needle was maybe Colin Powell when he endorsed Obama. I think that was huge. But
you might have a good point. Like, sometimes you wonder who or what that endorsement is for. Like, what does it prove? Because, what do you do with people who, in the case of Trumpers, who nothing you say, nobody who turns would matter. Melania could endorse Kamala, and she could become the enemy. Is this a new feature in the show that I don't know about, that I wasn't included in? This has been like 3 weeks straight. I sip on the same water.
You need one? You need one, Pastor?
No, I sip on the same water, but you keep forgetting to get water. Then, Ben Roethlisberger over here, which is about how good he was passing at the end of his career. But what I'm saying is, you're right. What do endorsements really prove to other people? Who is saying, ooh, wow, Dick Cheney, or who is it, a couple of the other, Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, the daughter.
Right.
Who is saying, ooh, wow? Are they trying to let their people know it's okay?
I think it's a great step. I think many others, I'm hoping they will follow, because I don't think they will, but I'm just saying, I think coming from somebody
he said you kind of have to take the dick out, shoot you in the face, Cheney. What's the alternative? Right. He'll catch you at the hunting range. But what I'm saying is, but Dick Cheney, and I'm a political wonky guy. I've been on. He is literally like the Dr. Evil. Like, before Trump, Dick Cheney was like the most evil Republican out there. He really was. He was like the architect of the Middle East, Iraq wars. They basically said he was running the country under Bush. Like, he gave himself special powers.
Absolutely.
So that's why I asked the question and framed it that way.
Right.
Under what circumstances would you want your enemy of your friend becomes your whatever?
I think that's what they're going to say too. That's exactly where they're going to go with, when they say this Dick Cheney endorsed her. Who is he? Okay, what if like the high priest of the Church of Satan said Pastor Jeff is a phenomenal preacher? Why gotta be Pastor Jeff? What if he said Todd?
No.
What if he invited you over to preach?
If there were ever a Second Baptist to go to, you should go to Second Baptist Steubenville.
Stop by the one in Warren first.
The witches and warlocks of North America endorse Pastor Jeff. Would you want
the power of three? We agree.
Would you want that endorsement? Okay, so the Taylor Swift. So that's what I guess what I'm trying to get at. Those that have like ardent rabbit followers, who really are like the definition of followers. They're followers. They'll do whatever Taylor Swift says, for instance. They might run to the polls and turn into
the beehive.
The Bayhive.
Bayhive, whatever
but
it is.
I guess the whole Dick Cheney thing, Liz Cheney, it's just the corruption of the party. And thank you, President Harrison, for saying that. The corruption of the party is so deep now that anybody who doesn't jump on the Trump train is an instant enemy. And it's funny because everything they have done for the cause of republicanism is lost if you don't go with Trump, which, as crazy as it sounds, I'll take the old Republican Party in a second.
over this. Well, can I add?
And maybe we'll get a decent ideological but not radical party reset itself if he loses again. Maybe, just maybe.
Can I add just one more layer to this?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out, because one of the biggest things they're saying about her is that she does not have enough experience. And
how is that possible?
Exactly. And I'm like, how can the person you're asking to be the president, first political job was as president.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And he ran, that's literally what he ran on. That was his.
Well, I think another part of the era, and I'll add in Obama to this, somewhat to blame a little bit, and Trump, obviously very much to blame, is that over the last 16 years, the idea of what experience actually means has been totally scuttled. Because even when Obama ran, we didn't talk nearly as much about him being a junior senator, as we did him talking about a community organizer.
Right, absolutely.
And that inexperience was big for his opponents. The inexperience was big. Right. But we were like, oh, well, he's black and articulate and we like him, so we're going to vote for him. And he managed to out-talk and out-campaign. And
exactly.
So we had, basically, he did not have the most experience in government. And
but
then
this
you get
is what
Trump.
I'm saying. She literally has more experience than
point,
any. But I'm saying, but they're trying to make it the point.
No, but it's become a thing where it doesn't matter. So experience is either one of two things. It's either disregarded, diminished, or a liability. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. It's either a liability because you're a part of the swamp or whatever, and you're a career politician, that kind of thing. So it's a liability because, the whole world is always talking about upending whoever happens to be there the most. But on their side, how can you say a prosecutor, a senator, an attorney general? That's literally the classic ladder. All you have to add into that is like Army general. That's like the only thing that you could be next. Which, by the way, if done right, I would take an Army general at this point. I think we need more military people back in at least thinking about office if they're not complete crazies, because they know the horrors of war.
Right.
They know what war feels like.
I agree with you in some way, but I'm like, war is different now than war was back then.
In a way, you're right.
War is won through computers and AI, and
ain't
nobody out there on the field no more. I mean, they are, but you know what I mean.
There was a crazy joke by Neil Brennan in one of his stand-up specials. I'm a bit of a stand-up junkie. He used to write for Dave Chappelle. Neil Brennan was talking about those crazy militiamen.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna let you tell your thing. Todd listens to the most corny comedians ever in the world.
I listen to some of the most brilliant comedians who are actually funny. Back to what I was saying.
The corniest cats.
All right. Okay.
Who was the one white guy you listen to?
I love Norm Macdonald. Rest in peace, Norm. One of my favorites. Nobody told better O.J. Simpson jokes than Norm. He had the best jokes. Okay. Did you ever hear the joke he told?
No,
since you brought it up, did you ever hear the joke he told? He said when O.J. Simpson wrote in his book, I would have taken a bullet for Nicole. And he said, what bad luck is that? The very person who would have died for you kills you. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Oh, Kevin Hart wannabe. Go ahead.
No, it's the opposite of Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is just hollering loud. That's what I don't like, is that loud slapstick, how black women be shopping. That's not a joke. But anyway, all right. That's what I was saying.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You took all my momentum from my point. What I was saying was that.
It's corny.
That's okay. I'm fine. Okay. I have a lot of things that would probably come off rude to people if I said what I really felt, to be honest, but I'll let it go. But anyway, Neil Brennan's point was that all these militia people who talk about taking their government back and taking up arms against the government, what you just said about the state of warfare is that all these guys can have a once-a-year competition. And you let these guys get all their arms, all their AR-15s, let them get all their stuff. And he's like, and then you get one U.S. soldier with a button.
That's it. That's all it takes.
Yeah. He was like, all right, so you guys like, we're going to do, you know what I mean? Do all that talking. And then the guy goes, bloop. And so I'm just saying that the art of warfare is different, but maybe you need somebody who's in that frame to do it. But all I'll say is that everything has been turned upside down. And I think that's the greatest damage that we're not really paying attention to, is that what could have been decent, even if it was ideologically different, is now not even an option anymore.
Right.
And again, when you have Democrats saying, I take the old Republicans any day over this.
Right.
I take the Mitt Romney. I take the John McCain. I take, what was that man's name? Bonner, the guy, Boner,
John McCain.
The guy that was always fighting Obama. He was from Ohio. Bonner.
I think it's Bonner in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Boehner, I guess was his name.
Boehner, yes, Boehner.
And these people all recoiled. So now you have a guy who is responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people or more in the Middle East, saying, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And I'm thinking to myself, what the heck were you doing when you were lying to Congress about wars and weapons of mass destruction? So it's like, back to the original question 10 minutes ago before we started talking about my corny comedians, is, do you want that endorsement, and does it really mean anything? Or are we often in these echo chambers of just, ha, 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 look who we got on our side. Well, you never would have welcomed that any other time.
I don't think, I also believe, Condoleezza Rice said a whole bunch of stuff. And she literally, and you could tell she was talking about Trump, but she would not say his name. She basically said you have these 4 horsemen riding in, and she called them what they were and things of that nature. But, I think that somebody has to stand up and say, this guy is this. And, and
I think people have realized it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well.
That's the issue. People have realized it does not matter. So now it's just really a get out the vote thing. And so to some of you, I will tell you what aggravates me a little bit. It's sometimes we feel so self-satisfied by the latest offense or the latest news or the meme that's how terrible Trump is or this, that, and the other. It doesn't matter. Whatever entertains us does not matter to the other people who are already
going to vote.
Or, and this is very important to our community, and we'll get off of this, is the skeptical people in our community are not going to be won over by zingers. And I think we need to realize that. Maybe that's a whole other podcast. We need to realize that these little, and I'm not picking on anybody because I know some of you guys post them and share them, but these little Occupy Democrats and super Kamala, Facebook pages that post all those little crazy pictures of, Trump being a sexual predator and this, that, and the other. And can you believe the people that are skeptical saying I'm not voting, or saying the Democrats aren't helping me either, so I'm not voting for them, or might as well give the other person the try, whatever. They're not like, oh, wow, boy, was that clever. I'm suddenly going to vote for Kamala. So I just feel like it's a lot of wasted energy and time, filling the space with a lot of, excuse the language, crap that's just
well, could it be? And you tell me. You tell me though. Could it be that maybe if we just get one out of all them people, I'm just saying.
I don't think that wins one though.
I don't know.
Take it from the corny comedian guy. Those of us who actually have some kind of formed argument, we really are.
I mean, I agree with you because for the longest I just voted Democrat. I didn't care who was running against. I didn't care what was. I went to the polls and just Democrat straight down the line. I didn't care about their, what they believed, what the issues were, none of that stuff. And I just, I believe it's more people out there like that than what we want to believe.
Yeah. So, I just think that, I do wish, and I don't even know how it works in other countries, how much endorsements matter and this person flipped and this person went that way. Because honestly, you're only going to set yourself up for disappointment when they go back to being who they always were.
Always.
It's still going to be your enemy at the end of the day. So it be what it be. So welcome y'all to Religiously Incorrect. I will absolutely share that. For those of you who want to know who the local candidates are, we'll do a free plug, even though Axe didn't pay me for this, that the local Trumbull County Candidates Forum will be held at Second Baptist Church on Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m., sponsored by a litany of organizations that have come together. Action, of course, I Vote Black, the Greater Warren Youngstown Urban League, the Trumbull County Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, and of course, Second Baptist Church. Always grateful to be a part. And we welcome any and all local civic and civil rights organizations to partner, to combine efforts. It's not too late. We can put together a party for anything else. We might as well come together and make sure that we bring as many voices and bodies down. So please join us Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m. Yes, say something, Mike.
Oh, yeah. And Marsh Media Group will be streaming.
Marsh Media Group will be streaming. Shout out to Marsh Media Group, your political connection for all your ads. Yeah, you want to do one of them ads where you're walking in the park and playing with a dog and throwing a stick? Call Marsh Media.
He got you covered.
He's got you. And he doesn't care if you're Democrat or Republican. He did Dick Cheney's ads. All right. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for Meme of the Week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
We are, these are all jokes. We are just playing.
Before we do the meme, I have another Norm Macdonald joke. I'm joking.
You off script. You off script, dog.
Do you know what you have to do to get a extra leg room on an airplane?
Catch a leg off?
No.
What?
You have to lie. When they ask you if we put you in an emergency exit, would you be willing to assist other people off the plane? Just say yes. And they'll give you.
So this is a joke?
That's the joke. I love it.
Mike, would you stop him?
I love it. Yeah, I can't be stopped. Okay, so you might want to turn the volume down a little bit on this one. We have a little trend, and that is that everyone deserves Oregon. Everyone deserves. Y'all want to hear another one?
We're gonna do a whole show on Norm Macdonald jokes. Sit back to the phone.
He really was one of my favorite guys growing up, man. He really was. He really was. Oh, now you see where I get my dry sense of humor from. So anyway, we do a thing with Everything Deserves Oregon. And so a guy found a great clip that he felt was appropriate to put some music to. Every single person, every single child, if you were a kid that ever had your hair combed by your mama, if you're black, by the way, you know what this experience looks like. Go ahead and play the clip, Mike.
That was actually hilarious.
Was that good?
That was actually hilarious.
That was good.
That was a good one. That was good.
Go ahead and give me credit for my meme.
You redeemed yourself. You
yes,
redeemed yourself.
Yes, sir. Norm Macdonald didn't do
Norm
that.
Macdonald gave me that meme. Rest in peace, Norm. Oh, man. I mean, everybody, at least once, has had to sit there and listen to a child doing the most.
Man, listen,
Or you were that child.
I got to listen to it every morning.
You have to listen to it every morning?
I'm about ready to cut Grayson's hair off myself just so I got to hear him scream no more.
We have a word for it that only black people use. This is a word that only exists in the black dictionary. tender-headed?
Tender-headed.
You tender-headed.
Tender-headed.
Nobody. The more I think about it.
No, your stuff nappy. That's what it is.
The more I think about it, the more I realize I've never, ever heard anybody in any other culture use that phrase. It's almost as bad as two-faced.
Right. Two-faced. And I remember my mother had that. She put that hot comb on the stove.
Don't go back that far.
Ooh.
What, you?
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, I was about to say, what do we call?
That's back when he had hair.
This is the result, y'all. This is the result. He said she's doing her hair in the church parking lot. I love it. Now Karen is Googling Norm Macdonald. Don't do it, Karen. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't.
God.
I wouldn't recommend it. You might lose respect for your pastor. But anyway, I appreciate that. That was a good one.
That was good. I liked it. I liked it. Yeah,
pretty good. So
he was right on. Well,
and he was on it too.
He was on it.
He was on it. That's the kind of organ. That's the kind of organist that a good preacher wants to have. Somebody that can really hang. If you can hang with a kid getting their hair combed. Excuse me.
Oh,
you can hang with any good preacher. Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate the fella.
I remember I was talking to somebody and it was talking about a musician. He said, well, when I go to the mountain, can they come there with me? I said, listen, they want to know.
But that is a good question because, listen, no preacher, and I'm sorry, I am a bit of a hoop and hollering preacher, not really the best. But, man, when you get to that place where you're really excited about the word and you realize the organist is garbage, I try to make sure I scope it out beforehand, but sometimes you just don't know where it's going to go. Because here's the trick. If they can play the song to the service really good and you think they can play, and then you find out they can't.
And that's why most pastors, especially if they got a good, they bring their own. You bring your own. You got to be there, Doc.
But I know a few that just go and accept whatever is there. My spiritual father, Bishop Clark, is one of them. He'll just go preach, and I've watched him preach through some travesties.
She said, God bless I got it, Doc.
I'd rather have the hair being combed than this.
One more time?
One more time. If you haven't been to church today, this is your hoop. That baby could get a position in the National Baptist Convention off of that alone. Off of that alone. She can be one of the midnight preachers, late night service preachers. Just off of that. What's up, Pastor Tatum? Hope Jacksonville's treating you well. God bless you and Pastor Kevin. We're so glad you've joined us tonight for Religiously Incorrect. We are brought to you by our fine sponsors, Phillips Care Lawn Services, who have been in business for over 10 years. They serve the Trumbull, Mahoning, and other surrounding areas doing cutting, leaf removal, mowing, edging, trimming, and any other outdoor service you can think of. Look them up and call them at 330-219-7916 for all of your outdoor service needs. And while you're at it, check out Phillips Care Cleaning Service. Ain't he all right? Check out Phillips Care Cleaning Service. They take care of residential and commercial cleaning, floor cleaning, furniture cleaning, upholstery, move in, move out services, and all sorts of renovation and repair work on any type of building servicing Trumbull and Mahoning counties and beyond. Don't waste your time. Let them do it. 219-7916 or check them out on Facebook at Phillips Care LLC.
And we are also brought to you by Action, the Alliance for Congregational Transformation, influencing our neighborhoods. We are super excited to present to Trumbull County, the Trumbull County Mobile Market. We will be cutting the ribbon this Tuesday, 2:30 at the Commissioner's. 10:30. That's 2:30. 2:30.
10:30.
That's what I said, 10:30.
He keeps saying 2, don't he?
Did I say 2? I said 10:30. What's wrong with you?
I wasn't paying attention.
He's
what
still
time
listening.
is it?
He's still
what
10:30.
10:30.
He's still listening to Norm Macdonald jokes. 10:30 at the Commissioner's Building, 190 High Street.
He said 2 again. No, I'm joking.
10, you messing me up now. 10:30, 190 High Street, downtown. Please come out. I think you will enjoy it. I think you'll love the market. I believe you'll love the truck. Come out, support the truck, and support your community.
And we have a new sponsor. Planning the perfect event? Look no further. At Annex Events, we've got everything you need to make your event unforgettable. From stunning tents, comfy chairs, and all the extras, we've got you covered. Super Bowl parties, graduation parties, corporate events, and of course, church banquets and anniversaries. We cater to all. Plus, our friendly team will handle the setup and the breakdown so you can relax and enjoy the day. Call Annex Events and let's make your next celebration a hit. Call 330-979-2909 or visit annexevents.com. And it's actually refreshing to have some real news copy to read for an ad as opposed to us just making stuff up.
Call him at 2:30
at the top of our time. Call him at 10:30. Call him for your Norm Macdonald Memorial Service.
I like the freestyle though, man.
You like the freestyle?
Yeah, I like the freestyle.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it sooner or later. But hey, our show today is kind of funny. I pitched this idea for those at home. I pitched this idea prior to having this incident we had, so it makes it even more important to me now. A couple of weeks ago, I pitched to Mike. Matter of fact, we were at dinner with one of Mike's associates. And I said, and Mike brought it up, and I said, that should be a show. Won't you be my neighbor?
It's a beautiful day.
I was waiting on you to.
In the neighborhood.
That's not how it goes, but.
I don't know. I never watched it. You
Jeff only sings Jodeci.
Yeah, you probably watched it more than
I did. I was a Mr. Rogers kid. Won't you be my neighbor? But I want to center the balance of our time to we always talk about the church in the community. We always talk about like outreach and stuff like that. I want to talk about the church as a neighbor. The church is somebody's, or often a lot of somebody's neighbor. Mm-hmm. And the church has neighbors.
Right.
So every church I've ever attended has been a neighborhood church, essentially. That's my premise. Every church I've ever attended has been a neighborhood church, meaning you could walk out the church, walk across the street or next door and be in somebody's house or porch. Like this wasn't like a suburban out on a strip, out in the, rural area where you kind of go out of country roads, some cheap land, big sprawling building and nothing but parking lot, nothing but the churches I grew up in. The street was the parking lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The street was the parking lot. You had to share the neighbors. Back in the day, which we are both old enough to remember, before most churches were air conditioned, this is the atmosphere, let's talk about being neighborly, where you could open the windows of the church and be blaring revival and church music, and the whole neighborhood just has to hear.
Just has to hear. And you had you had to open the window like this.
Yeah, you had to
crank it. Yeah, you had to crank that window.
You had to push the little bar out, and it would bend in.
I hope that stained glass didn't break.
I hope that stained glass don't break. Yeah, so I want to talk about the church in the neighborhood, because I honestly think that, number one, and this is, of course, like a little defense of the church. When we think of the church, we're always thinking of like this giant corporate entity, because we think of mega churches and places where you have to drive down these long driveways and all. And so that becomes the church. But the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of churches are just these little average buildings in the middle, planted dead smack in the middle of a neighborhood. And it doesn't matter how busy or big your city is. Tatum is a Brooklynite, former Brooklynite, or in a smaller town like Warren. There's just something about the church being right there. It could be liquor store, house, church. You know what I'm saying? And so there is something to be said about, and I guess this is what I want to start with, Pastor Jeff, is what makes the church a good neighbor? Wow. Now, we're not talking again about outreach and how much you give away,
right,
and all that stuff. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about what makes the church a good neighbor in a very practical, everyday sense.
Well, I think that, back in the day, like you talked about, oftentimes, even if they didn't come to the church, they knew the pastor.
Okay.
They knew of the pastor. They knew most of the members, and the members knew them. And
being familiar with the neighborhood.
Yeah, being familiar, and I think and I came out with you several times on your walks. And I think, that's really because my church is literally deemed downtown.
Okay, yeah, you're in the downtown.
So I don't really have, and I miss that. I think it's something that is fundamental. And I mean, I love going for the, what'd you call it?
Walk the walk?
Walk the walk.
Yeah.
Walk the walk. And, I started it at the other church that I was at the time. And so I think, knowing the neighbors and just, having that type of relationship that, you know what I mean? In the middle of the night, if somebody's at your church, say, hey, get off that property, get off that property. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, being familiar with people, I love that, and it's funny because the joke of parking on the street. I remember, days of going to church. My wife's church was big for this, the St. Paul, which is just around the way from where our studio is. Then you can only fit 10, 15 cars in the parking lot. Everybody else was parking up and down the street, every which way.
Right.
You actually get to know people doing that.
Oh, yeah.
You got to walk a block, you know what I mean? They see the saints, they see the cars. Being a good neighbor, speaking of that, means that you are being considerate of your neighbors in times like that.
Right.
So not just familiar with them, and thank you, Pastor Tatum, members speaking to the neighbors. And let me stick on that before I jump to the considerate part, but because that's a part of being considerate, but it can't just be the pastor.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And a matter of fact, that will be one of the complaints, if you're not careful, that people can have about a church is them folk come up in here, sometimes in large crowds, sometimes even the more successful the church is, the more resentful people would be that don't nobody ever speak to. They just come and go.
Absolutely. And
clog up the streets. And
just because, your parking lot only got 10 parking spaces and you got to park up in it, that don't mean you can park in front of somebody's driveway.
You got to be considerate.
You got to let people got to get out. You in church getting your praise on and they trying to get to work.
Right.
Next thing you know, the pastor got to stop preaching. License number.
If you drive a silver Honda.
There's a blue Chevette. It's a blue Chevette.
There's a yellow Yugo. Your lights are on. Car announcements in church are hilarious. Because if it's a bad car or a fancy car, no matter what, people will be like, ooh. Then we look around and wait to see who gets up.
Hey, and then you in church, and all of a sudden you hear somebody's alarm going off. Yeah, and everybody reaching
out, grabbing their thing. So being a good neighbor means being considerate, understanding of the neighborhood. Like you said, not parking all over the place, not disregarding other people's comforts. When I think of being a good neighbor as a church, I think of making it, again, it's not about what we can give them, but I do think that when you do things, you include them.
Absolutely.
Because you consider them your neighbors. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have this, if you do an outreach, invite all these people into your Easter egg hunt, don't invite the family next door.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got all this stuff set up. And like you said, being considerate, talking to the neighbors, we'll sit here and set up 15 tents, have jump houses, cooking barbecue, everybody can smell it. And we're like, basically, we're not saying it out loud, but what we're really saying is not for you.
Right.
This is not for you. But so if you're going to have something, at least invite them to it or to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And I think the goal would be at some point, and I mean, a lot of times it doesn't happen, but if you're right next to the church, you would love for them to have them.
Well, in a day before our time, that was the norm.
Right.
And I think people kind of forget that before the explosion of churches, the idea of why there were multiple churches in one, here come Marlon, multiple churches in one area, your Baptist church, your Pentecostal church, your AME church, is that people were going to walk to church before they drove to church. So they went to the church in their neighborhood. So they would look for a good Baptist church in their neighborhood, maybe one or two of those, a good, Kojic or Pentecostal church, or Apostolic church or whatever. So, because it was common, most of my Second Baptist members told me about, we all used to walk from the Highland Homes, from 4th Street, from 2nd Street, or at least if you're driving, you just go around the corner.
Yeah.
You know, you're just there. So like you said, hopefully taking advantage of the proximity.
And let me just, I want to stick there for 1 second, because do you have a feeling, or do you have any type of feelings about somebody who literally stays here but drives to Akron to go to church?
Oh, well, definitely if it's like another city. Now, going across town, first of all, many times that predates us.
Yeah.
They could have been attending that church before they moved
That's
there,
true.
that other
That's
church. Or their family always went to that church, or they just found a connection. The city is only so big anyway. You can go where you choose to go. So I've always had strong feelings about we should localize ourselves a little bit more. This whole commuting away to church is a little bit of a kind of a funky thing for me. But as far as within the same city, you know, not that. I mean, I'm glad they're going somewhere.
Yeah, amen.
I'm glad they're going somewhere, put it that way. But, you know, we don't even see much of that, people getting out the neighborhoods. And so here's a funny thing. There might be a lot of people in the church's neighborhoods that don't go to church at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who go to church are coming from some other neighborhood. And they're like going nowhere.
While we're talking, if you guys stay close in the vicinity of a church, just go ahead and...
How close is close?
Maybe where you can hear
like
them.
A church you don't go to.
Yeah, church you don't.
Well, I stay right next door to a church. We share a yard. Like my house on Coit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but you don't hear nothing from.
It's a smaller white older congregation, and you don't hear them. I mean, you
don't know this shit.
I don't know what's going on. I when I go to Sunday school on Sundays, I see them walking with a one guitar case, you know, like acoustic. It's like country western, and I was so offended because I have a black neighbor, a young lady who is my neighbor, and she had the nerve to ask me if I was a pastor of that church, and I almost cussed. I'm like, you know, good ways on the white people walking that church.
Well, I think that's another thing, because I think if you don't know, most of us think that the pastor stays right next to the church.
Not here, Doc. No siree. No, that's a negative.
Hey, that would be funny if well, no, I guess it happens all the time.
You leave it at the art because I'd be in the first unit next to in the Highland Homes.
The parsonage is bigger than the church.
Bigger than the church, right?
So,
man, they gonna have me moving in the chapel if I keep talking. Oh yeah, the days of living next door to the church. You went through it for a minute.
Oh yeah. No, it's difficult.
No siree. You ain't about to look in my window to see if I'm home. No siree.
Yeah, they will do it.
So that's being a good neighbor. What makes a church a bad neighbor?
I think,
and y'all can comment too. What makes a church a bad neighbor?
Have somebody cut your church grass.
Oh, okay. You know what? That's a good one.
Have somebody
not taking care of your
Fernando.
property. Not taking
at 2:30. Calling.
Not taking care of your property. And unfortunately, there are churches that, come on, man. You go to that church, they got that old grill that's been there since 1967, sitting in the back of the parking lot by the street, old trailer.
What's really bad is the fence.
Oh,
take the fence down. Take the fence down. Take it down.
The broken church. No. The old church van.
That
hasn't been
flat
driven.
Tires sitting on flats.
The old church van that hasn't been driven since 1989.
Sitting on blocks.
Church named and changed 3-4 times. He done painted over it. It's all faded out. Yeah. It's because that you don't see it that way because it's church property, but that's blight for the neighborhood. It really is. Now that's a councilman word. That's blight. I never said blight so much in my life than when I started running for office. Okay, Pastor Tatum. Services going past 10 p.m. Now, we're talking about neighbors. So, Jamie, I feel what you're saying about going too long at 3. Or you must be talking 3 in the morning. But services going past 10 p.m. Now, back to what we said earlier at the beginning of the show about long services.
Yeah.
Them all-night revivals. I know Mike grew up with them. Y'all was terrorizing the neighborhood.
Man.
My God.
Terrorizing.
Dude, we had a revival for a couple of months in the summer.
Wait, go back
For a couple of months.
For a couple of months.
Wait, you had me at couple of months.
You had a revival for a couple, like every day?
Listen. Every day for a couple of months.
Mike
in
needs
the summer,
counseling.
with the windows open. Yeah, man, just terrorizing the neighborhood. But
That would be a nuisance call in 2024. That is a Karen call, and I say Karen, I don't mean our sweet sister Karen Osborne. I'm talking about that other kind of Karen. That's a nuisance call.
Well, Scott,
having bells.
Is that Catholic? Is that?
No, that could be any church, but we don't have to worry about that in the black community because none of our bells work. Our bells ain't rang since Dr. King died. Ooh, that's a good question.
What is that?
Jason asked, I wonder if there's any correlation between a church neighborhood and property value. Can a church have effect on property values?
wow.
That is a good
Might depend on the
question.
kind of church.
Yeah.
And how loud they are.
And how loud they are. Right. But yeah,
How do you guys feel about when churches have the outs, especially when it was
don't ask how you feel about me.
especially during COVID when everybody was having outside services.
Outside services. Okay. I think people could deal because tent revivals and outdoor services have been a part of life in a lot of urban communities. Mm-hmm. Okay. And now we've gotten away from it, so people might not be as familiar anymore. They'll think it's strange.
Right.
If you go out and set up a tent revival like Pastor Harrison, President Harrison, Bishop Paramore have done together. But here's where it goes overboard. This is where it goes overboard with the COVID outdoor services. When we started telling people to sit in their cars and honk their horns. Do you know what kind of a terrorist you were being to people? It's bad enough to be outside with keyboards and drum sets at a tent revival, or we do worship without walls outside. It's bad enough to be doing it. But to be asking your members to honk their horns instead of saying amen. Yes, I'm talking to you, President Harrison.
Honk your horn and tell your neighbor.
Yeah. Don't say amen, honk your horn. What? Whose idea was that?
How many batteries went dead?
You had a charger. The deacons running around with jumper cables the whole service. And again, so in the evening or afternoon, you get it. But our services are like 11, sometimes 10 o'clock in the morning. And we all moved our services up on top of that.
Absolutely.
So it's earlier. So he said we can honk because we don't have a neighborhood. That is true. Pastor Harris is in more of a corporate area. He just got some other businesses and churches around him. But we have people do that right in the middle of neighborhoods. So that can be aggravating. Again, if you lived near a church back in the day, especially a church that was going to have all night, months-long revival services like Mike, you just learn how to live with it. And speaking to Jason's point, maybe if somebody was selling a house, they probably wouldn't know to ask.
How loud is that church?
How loud is that church over there?
But you know what? Let's just tune it in because you've been over. I have in my house a clock.
That won't stop. You haven't taken that out yet?
I never. You don't even notice it no more. See, that's what I mean.
Well, I don't be over there like that.
Yeah, but I mean,
so you stop noticing.
Just stop noticing.
So the neighborhood gets used to.
If you stay next to a train track, somebody has just gotten used to the train coming past. They just got used to it.
I get it. Okay, perfect.
So what you're saying is you get used to it like that, like the fire alarm. With the dead battery.
The beep.
Beep.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. And you're right, Pastor Harrison. People were more tolerant. And they just expected it. It was a part of the neighborhood. There's that church over there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's a big deal for me, is the church being a part of the fabric of the community. Like, it just is.
Yeah.
There's the corner store. There's the kids playing on the corner. There's the church.
Right.
You have your booming system go by. Then you have the church. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? You're going to have some form of noise. And Lord knows we've been in those places where the church hears the booming system go by because the windows are open and they start saying stuff like the blood of Jesus.
Oh, y'all want to play y'all music?
Oh, we can play ours. We're going to praise him louder. Right? Okay, so being a neighbor means trying to be good, but most of us don't have late church like that anymore. Most of us don't open our windows anymore. We mentioned that earlier. It's got bad church parking, not being considerate. Or if you are near a neighborhood and you're a little larger, especially if you're coming and going, the hassle it brings when you're coming and going. You know, some churches, we've been to bigger churches where, I mean, there's police out there directing traffic.
Absolutely.
They've got whole,
Oh, yeah.
blockades going on, just to get people in and out. So, you're right. That's a bad neighbor. I think
and it's not the church's fault. Oftentimes it is the community's fault.
Community's fault.
Because oftentimes churches can become a sort of creep place.
Oh,
it can become a sort of, hangout after the church is closed. And, it's the place, it's dark. Most churches don't got cameras. A lot of churches don't got cameras.
I creeped at a church once.
You just gonna say that out loud, huh?
I was in high school. Church kids ain't got nowhere else to go.
Let's go to church parking lot.
Go to church parking lot.
The police won't be over there.
I hope it wasn't your dad's church, because that's as bad as I'm going to my dad's bedroom.
No. But to your point, we did run into this a lot. And again, this is a truism. This is a truism. If you have an urban church, I can't speak for other churches because I don't know. But I know when you have a church in the hood, people who are coming into the neighborhood looking for something or someone consider the church parking lot a safe space to park.
Yeah.
Until they figure out where they're at. Mm-hmm. And that is a constant. It's a meetup. It's a place where people go to exchange, goods and.
Well, I can recall going to one church where the kids start playing basketball and the pastor was like, "No, they ain't gonna play." The basketball hoops.
Taking the hoops down. Y'all ain't playing out here.
This basketball hoop is for
the Lord.
Members only. Members only basketball
Only
hoop.
the Saints get a jump shot around here. Only the Saints get the finger roll around here. Ain't gonna be no finger rolling for the devil. No, but I had one at my dad's church. We had the guy who was running from another guy, and he knocked on the door late at night and was like, "I want to be saved." I'll never forget that guy. He's like, I need Jesus, bro. I'm like, I'm sure you do. I see this cat across the street. Then I had another time, and it was winter time and lots of snow. I'll never forget it. A little car parked full of little white teenagers who were parked in the back of our church. And I went out, and when I came out, they tried to speed away, and they drove back towards where reserve.
I was on the phone with you.
We were on the phone. And they drove right into a snowbank. They kind of slid slid into a little snowbank. And I was like, "Where are you guys from?" And they're like, "Champion." And I was like, "Go home,
please.
Go home. You don't belong here." Because you want to talk about drug problems? It's usually from the outside in,
right?
And so they come in, they don't know where they're going. They're trying to find that apartment or that house that they heard about where they can get this at. So they stop at a church. Now, back to you saying the police is there. Now, that does end up sometimes being a place where the police stake out too, though.
Absolutely.
Which I welcome.
Absolutely. Now, and it was a lot of churches. I know Pastor Harrison had it at that time. Had it at one time. I don't know if he still does, but they had the guard shacks. And literal guard shacks.
Oh, you were the urban church. You didn't have a guard shack, by the way. We got a church out the street just built one.
Yes, yeah.
Just built a guard shack, a new guard shack. When they started building, I was like, "Is that a shed?" I'm like, "No, that's a guard shack. He's here to watch the cars." Y'all don't know nothing about that. You wasn't in a real hood church unless you had one deacon or brother that was assigned to be out in the parking lot and just watch the cars.
The parking lot ministry.
No, that was before parking lot ministry. That was
because after you got out of church, you can best believe, because before we had social media, somebody had to go around to every church and put every flyer. Put flyers
on
in the cars. Put flyers on the cars.
Under that windshield wiper.
You came outside, and if it was raining, it was all messed up.
So you don't know it's there until you hit the button, and now it's streaking across your windshield. Yes, you're absolutely right. The cameras, okay, and let's go to that. Won't you be my neighbor? Because of our neighborhoods, we had the guard shack, and now we have the cameras. Now, I have to say, the last incident we had at our church, the cameras didn't catch it.
Right.
They were disappointing. But I had a person come, it might have been Mother Marsh, stopped by the church and said, do y'all have an alarm system? And I said, it's been a while. You don't? Now, I hate to say that to all the criminals that watch Politically Incorrect.
We do now. We do now.
We do now. We just got it. We just got it yesterday. But how secure churches have to be now?
Absolutely.
Because they're no longer off limits. Mm-hmm. They're no longer off limits.
Well, if you guys remember, at one time, they were still in air conditioners.
Oh, man. Churches were the easy hit, man.
Man, the air conditioners was gone. I mean, and now if you look now, you see everybody has fenced in
on the roof up there. You're right. I mean, that's. But it used to be that churches were generally off limits and could even be open like during the day. Doors could just be open during the day. You could just walk in as the pastor here and this, that, and the other. And we've had multiple security protocols at Second. When I left my father's church, the alarm system, the camera system. At Second, the alarm system, the cameras. What kind of cameras do we want to get? What kind of security do we want to have? Ring doorbells. We've done all of it. You got to call in first from the door and announce yourself. We have the buzzers. Some of the churches are linked up with the buzzers. And all of that. But it's an unfortunate necessity. And thank you, President, for the sake of insurance. For the sake of insurance. You got to have these things. Even if you got to go and just tape a fake keypad to the wall, tape a calculator to the wall.
Everybody had to come in and pretend like you.
Beep, 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 beep. Yes. Well, Pastor Wingfield, that was the week I went and preached for Pastor Wingfield. I don't know if you remember that, Pastor Wingfield. That was the week of your church anniversary. And Mike and I were down in the Pittsburgh area. And right there, down the street, that's where that man walked in and tried to shoot the pastor and the gun jammed.
Wow. And
this was not even probably 5 minutes from where I was at with Pastor Wingfield. And the churches were not dissimilar. Anybody could have walked in. So, when you think about being neighborly, the church has to unfortunately put up certain guards that make it feel unfriendly.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
It really is.
That if a person comes in, you say we should accept. And I agree. Nobody disagrees that anybody off the street should be able to walk into the church in any condition. But in the world we live in today, you
got to be careful.
Dude walk in with a trench coat. All the brothers.
They standing up.
They standing up and looking.
They looking.
And we could be wrong and misjudging, but what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Making yourself vulnerable or the people you love vulnerable?
We talked about this on the way to the game with some of the tough conversations you have to have when you're starting out at a church.
Yes.
And that was one of them. Who packing?
Who packing? I
need to know. Who
how
in here? How do we deal with these issues if they were to happen?
And this has nothing to do with not accepting people who are here for spiritual help. It's about the reality that people see the church as a vulnerable place. Mm-hmm. Period. So you're trying to be a neighbor. Let's take that a step further. Right after Mother Emanuel, it might not be a danger, okay? But what if your neighbors, the neighbors of the church, are a nuisance? What do you do when the neighbors of the church are parking in your parking lot and leaving trash behind, drinking and smoking? We've had that.
Using the church's trash can.
Using the church.
The church was out.
Using the sanctified dumpster to put your mattress.
Y'all know y'all done it. Y'all know y'all done it.
I do it because I'm the pastor and I'm allowed. That's a part of my package. I make sure it's in my package.
Why you ain't got no trash bill at home? Oh, don't worry about it. Get away.
Pastor has free use of the dumpster. I gotta knock down my whole garage. Where are you taking it to?
Hey, you come time to go to throw throw the trash at your church. It ain't nowhere when
you get mad when the neighbors get there first. Oh, their mattresses and cribs. Okay, but what happens when they're a nuisance? What happens when we say that we want all the neighborhood kids to come? But what happens when they come running in and out? What happens when they're grabbing papers and stuff and they run back out the church in the middle of service? Whatever it might have. It's a reality, and it's not about being not accepting people or bougie or arrogant or too good for people. It's just there is an expectation of common decency.
Right.
And what happens when you don't? I had to do that. I never forget about it. I had to go outside, and literally because we share parking lots with the housing project next door, the neighbors there like to park there near our entrance in our driveway in the parking lot, literally because it's close to their door. Now, if somebody's dropping off groceries or a kid or something, you're like,
right.
Literally every door open on a Wednesday night, we're doing Bible study and playing their favorite rap music, red cups on top of the car, and they, hey, and I had to go outside. You can't do it. You gotta go. You have to go. It's inappropriate. It doesn't matter if it was my personal residence. Doesn't matter if it was a church or whatever. That could have been a chance to minister. No, it's not like that. That kind of ticks me off because somebody will hear me tell that story, or they'll get on Facebook and say, "Pastor, these kids ain't got nothing to do, and you running them away." No, that's not a chance for ministry, to be honest.
Listen, I had the privilege for several years to stay next to the church,
right?
And the way it was set up, you didn't know. If you didn't know, you didn't know that. So I could look outside at 3:00 in the morning, and you either see somebody sitting over there. And
right.
times I did go out, there's times I didn't, probably depending on what kind of car it was looking like.
Right.
There's times I would be sitting there, especially during the winter, where they just came in and done donuts.
Oh, listen.
Just done donuts in the parking lot. Just, this is the, in the
free parking lot. Right.
Yeah, just where I'm going to practice doing my donuts.
And churches really are targets for that because they know we're limited in resources. It's just that empty big, churches have big, some of them big parking lots. Mm-hmm. You come in with that scat pack, you just want to, they do want to play around a little bit and kick gravel everywhere, or make some streaks. And we come out and got to see that, kind of a thing. But what happens when the neighbors are a nuisance? Some of you guys kind of pop in. Have you ever had to deal with?
You walk around the church 7 times and 7 times.
We go claim this neighborhood for Jesus.
We shouted the walls come down.
We've had the bullet holes through the windows, or sometimes more pellet guns, but still same effect. Trash thrown around, the church and community. Of course, like I said, dumpster use, vandalism. And we got vandalized recently, and we got vandalized tragically a couple of years ago, which is, we talk about this chapel project. Anybody that follows Second Baptist, that's because almost 2 years ago, somebody threw 5 bricks. And they created 5 different bricks through our historic chapel and broke priceless windows that we are now spending tens of thousands of dollars to repair. We finally found the first challenge was finding someone who could do it.
Right. Who
could do it properly. And, just this past week, we had some benches in our memorial garden, our Garden of Hope. We call it damaged. A couple have turned over, 1 broken. And, it really does mess with you. It really does mess with you when you start to feel some kind of way because you're pretty sure that it may have been done by people you walk by and see. Here's the crazy thing. You might have been a blessing to.
Yeah.
Somebody you might have invited to that neighborhood block party or given food to or had them at the Easter egg hunt. Whether they're of age or maybe they were like a little neighborhood kid that was a little kid and they became a not so little kid and they start doing what kids do. I get it. That kids are mischievous. I noticed when we had our ramp put up, the kids on the bikes
it's on that ramp.
We had a ramp.
You see a ramp? I tell you, when I was a kid, if I saw a ramp, it's on it.
What was that dude? Tony Hawk?
Yeah.
Tony Hawk. When we was kids. So, but to be honest, when you do see this protectionism in pastors and members who are seemingly overprotective of the building, It doesn't come from nowhere.
Right.
I want to kind of speak to my experience. It was easy for me to talk about that when I had primarily grown up at first in a school where I didn't know what it was like to watch blood, sweat, and tears build a building, or have my family's name on a pew, or know the history or the cost or the high, people giving their offerings to the church can exist and thrive. But when we built Agape, and then I became a part of Second, the idea of it's just a building, if you bring up that you got vandalized, people in and out of the church be like, it's just a building. You should be concerned about souls. And I'm like, but where's the decency part at, though? And why can't we hold people accountable? And here's one of my big things when I'm talking specifically black community. Black community is, we talk a lot about respect and uplift. And I don't know how you can have any of that without respect for your sacred spaces.
Absolutely.
I just don't know. And that's what bothers me. And Pastor Harrison's talking about, first they had to do with prostitution. And again, what do you do with that? Now, shout out to Auntie Brenda Troy and Pastor Keith Troy down in Columbus. She actually started a street ministry based off prostitutes and human trafficking, based off of prostitution in their neighborhood near New Salem in Columbus. And she will go out with a flashlight and chase the Johns away. Shine a light on the cars coming. And she will tell you stories about the prominent people coming in town, lawyers, people from other sides of town coming into the hood to look for women and then try to rescue the women. So try to offer some ministry. But then, of course, if that don't work, you got to do what you got to do. I'd love to hear the rest of that story, President, of what y'all did to the
You don't want to hear that.
To the vandals.
You don't want to hear that one.
Him and the boys. I think that goes back to your question. Who's packing?
That's it. Who's packing? Right. That's it.
So that's me. And I don't know if you feel the same way.
I really do, because I think that, I love the fact that, this summer when I came down to church and the men are just out there. They're working on the, making sure that the, whatever it's called, because I don't do all that stuff. But the bushes and the flowers and everything are beautiful.
Right.
I think,
called landscaping.
Landscaping.
We have an entire business that sponsors us that does landscaping.
Whatever his name is, at 2:30. But no, you have to do, I think it's, don't be so anointed inside and raggedy outside.
I agree. There's nothing wrong with being rightly appointed and beautiful in your worship and presenting yourself well. And to me, I really,
and that's just not the outside.
That's the inside too.
Yeah. I mean, stop talking about, you want to heal the broken heart, but won't heal the broken vacuum.
Fix the broken window.
Right. Can you do that for me?
Right.
Right. You want to lay hands on everybody, but won't lay your hands on a broom. Won't wash the dish. Can you do that?
Heal that doorknob that's been hanging off.
Right.
For about 4 months.
Stop playing that drum that's broke. That drum got to look like a piece of pie in the cymbal.
You still get that pillow from 1942 inside the bass drum.
Fix that kick drum.
Fix that kick drum.
Right. Get it right.
But like sometimes there has to be some respect. Thank you, Sister Sonia. Bring that whooping back. If you don't tear your house up, you ain't gonna tear this church up. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll beat you in the church.
There it is.
But I mean, so and I wish those. I think we don't think. I'm a social guy. I really do think of the church in a social way sometimes, where we, as I said earlier, are a part of the fabric of the community. You should want things. I don't care if I have a store that I don't care for that sells alcohol and cigarettes and lotto and stuff that I would not engage in as a saint, right? At least it can look nice and decent, and they expect right behavior, as opposed to a store where everybody's just hanging out, drinking out of bottles, out, cussing and fussing and throwing glass all over the parking lot. I could respect that store even though it's not a place, besides getting a necessity for me, like, they do extra. But even the church, I wish was seen more that way, that we're only trying to be a good part of our community. And like your own personal house, you want your place to look nice and to stay nice, So that leads me kind of to the end part of this is churches that have felt the need to leave their community when the opportunity arose because they didn't want to be subject to that. It's like we're here to serve the community. But every church has had that conversation.
Absolutely.
Every church that's had any opportunity to grow or relocate, or maybe their building is aging, they've all been in that place, especially if the neighborhood is not, prosperous. Should we pick up roots?
Well, I think you said a couple things. What is the reason? If the building is old, it's antiquated, you really can't fix it up. You could do what you can do, but if your gas bill is costing you more than you bringing in on a Sunday, you might have to move.
But what if there are too many bullets flying and it's not the building, it's the bullets? What if the people simply feel unsafe and all of your efforts haven't worked?
Yeah, I think sometimes you do have to.
And people will look at it as abandoning. And I don't know, y'all tell me how you feel about that. Like,
I think what I was saying was, though, I don't think you should move because I want a melting pot. I want to.
Oh no, definitely.
I want to go
because I don't. Yeah. I want black people. I'm joking.
I tried to say it as politically correct as I could.
I'm incorrect. Pastor Harrison got the whole police department. True, he does. That's what happens when the mayor goes to your church, though. Churches, stores, doctor dentists have all moved, if possible, to a safer space, unfortunately. And I want to say that people talk about ministry, the broken need you the most. Yes, but everybody still needs to be safe.
Yes. And
sometimes, can we be real honest? Sometimes you feel like the community just doesn't care about itself, no matter how much you care for it. You can do all the cleanups in the world. You can start the neighborhood patrol, the Big Brothers system. There's some phenomenal. My brothers do Brothers Against Violence. Yeah. You can do all that. Mm-hmm. But what do you do
when they start graffitiing your stuff?
Yeah. And that's what's happened. And sometimes I fear, this is a crazy fear that I have. What if I was in an environment where I did make an impact and that impact is detrimental to those bad actors, and now we become a target because of our impact? And that's what Pastor Harrison was. If we do so-called clean up the neighborhood and pull kids in positivity and the drug dealers are losing business. And so, again, there's never an intent. There are some people who probably for the wrong reasons, like you said, the melting pot reasons, the I'm too good for this community reason, all of that kind of stuff. Let me just go, the money's better over there. I bet you we could attract better people who have a higher, income over there, be in more visible streets and all of that. But at the same token, sometimes just basic things like safety and accommodation. What if you are landlocked and you'd like to grow and people in 2024 ain't trying to park 3 blocks away to come to your church and you do got an opportunity to go? So it's like there are so many difficult questions that come into these practical. Yes, the Lord should lead you. Yes, God, has to open the door, but it might be practical. And that's a part of being a neighbor because sometimes neighbors have to move. What if we run into this? What if you have to play a part in moving another neighbor out? What if you have to report that house? That's the drug house. You're reporting that code violation. Constant nuisance to the rest of the neighborhood. And you're the reason that house gets condemned.
Yeah.
Or that family gets removed or whatever. But, again, you're a neighbor.
Absolutely.
So I just feel like there's more to it.
And what do you do when you do have condemned houses next to you?
We buy them suckers up, brother.
Buy them, tear them down.
We bought up about 5-6 acres around our church property, and glad to do it because everybody wants a buffer. So that you can at least have some control. About what goes on around you. But I just feel like there's a lot that can be said about the neighborhood church, and I think the neighborhood church is still essential to the neighborhood.
Right.
And I bristle to think, what would our neighborhoods be like if the church wasn't there, hadn't been there? And for all the negativity we often hear about churches, there are a lot more quiet voices saying, I'm glad the church was there.
Absolutely.
At some point in my life. We act like it's all terrible, but when 60 and 70 and 80, 90 kids are showing up to VBS.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Have a safe place to do their Easter egg hunt,
Easter egg
or
hunt.
can slide in and get a donut and some juice at Sunday school. when elderly people know that they have a place where they can come when the storms have knocked their power out. You know, when people know, and they have asked, can I use my parking lot? Or people come up to me, oh man, I got a flat tire. You mind if I leave my car here? Nah, it's good, man. I'll put a note and sign it and put it on there and say, Pastor saw the car, don't tow it. That kind of stuff. I just feel like there's so much that we forget that might get lost if your church is a strip mall church. If your church is the out on the interstate church, if your church is in the industrial area. Now, the downtown church still has its place because you're downtown.
Absolutely.
You're in the midst of where it's going on.
It's cool.
Right. Any final comments or questions? We'd love to hear from you before we go. If you have any questions about any struggles or challenges or opportunities we have in our neighborhoods, you know, have you looked at your neighborhood in Steubenville, knowing that you're in the downtown area, and looked around and said, there's an opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of opportunities down there. I mean, you know, well, one of the things we're fighting right now is the gas station that's right next to us.
Okay.
You know, trying to stop them from getting a liquor license. We know, you know, I mean, and
what will happen if
I was literally in Florida, and I got a call and a video sent to me that gas station literally had a party, and they had plugged in, you know, they had plugged in their
generator or something,
not the DJ stand and stuff to our electricity.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they plugged it in over there, and I'm like,
comedy.
You know, so I mean, and they had this big party, but the sad thing is, everybody, you doing so much for the community. This church is doing, you know what I mean? So,
wow.
You know, those are the type of, you know. Those are the type of things, you know, we have to fight even in the midst of that. But, you know, we bought up several houses. We have several property across the street. Right. We have property all around. So, you know, we just have to look for those opportunities. Juneteenth, when we have our big Juneteenth celebration,
right.
You know, just inviting the community out. You know, there's several high rises.
Okay.
You know, it's down a block.
Yeah,
but,
I've seen them.
We get to go down there. Church. So, yeah.
And, you know, and that's one of the things I actually told our deacon board when I was having our initial meetings and getting to know each other. They said, what's your vision? Which we all kind of know is not the greatest question in the world. Like, what's your intent? Because it's hard to have a vision for a church when you're brand new.
Right.
But I did say from an overarching standpoint, I'd like to reintroduce the community to the church and reintroduce the church to the community. Right. Now, luckily, in a way for me, the job has been made. There's been a twofold job to that. A lot of the social media, online engagement that comes through my personality in a way and just having that platform. And then also personal presence.
Right.
So you have like your platform, then you have your personal presence. Like you're going to see my face. You're going to see this church's face, the outdoor services, pull up and pray. You know, let's go be intentional and put flyers. And some of this stuff, to be fair, perfectly fair, not just fair, but to give credit to people like Sister Rose Jones at the time, who was the youth director and the children's director. They were already doing a lot of that and had that healthy relationship with the neighborhood, the block parties, all of that. But let's just be intentional. If we're doing an Easter egg hunt, put something on everybody's door. You talk about opportunities. We're sharing literally a parking lot with the Highland Homes housing project. Everybody knows in Warren, if you live in Warren, your typical housing project. And so it's just like, there's a mission field. And one of the first things I did was blew up a map of our neighborhood and put it on my wall and just said to myself, this is ours. Right. We share this space with 5 other churches in this area, but alongside them, not taking anything away from our fellow churches, I just consider this our territory because they're our neighbors.
Right.
And they should know us. And I hope they know all of us, but they definitely gonna know me.
Absolutely.
And Second Baptist. So I think that if you're in a neighborhood, it is a unique opportunity to engage and connect with people in a personal way that you have to kind of wave folk off the street somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Whereas you can just knock on a door away from the sidewalk, in the church.
Hey, I mean, you've done a phenomenal job doing it, getting to know the neighborhood and the neighborhood getting to know you. Also, along with that, I just went down to Steubenville High School, got to know the principal. The schools in your neighborhood, the church ought to know the schools. They would
know the businesses.
The businesses, all of that. I went down there and got a meeting with the mayor coming up. So you got to know, you got to get involved.
Right.
Don't just. It's not just we always talking about asking people to come in, but when are you going to go out?
When are you going to go out? And then be that common, because you'd be surprised how many people come to a church to ask about neighborhood things.
Right.
Like, who do I call when my trash hasn't been picked up? Who do I, they'll ask you because they just assume somebody in the church should know something. We even have like a forum for like mental health phone numbers in the foyer outside now, like forums, like if you have going through a crisis, here are some resources you can call, the bulletin board and all of that. So I just feel like there's a lot of meat there. And so I celebrate all of our neighborhood churches, all of our brothers and sisters that have been serving and continue to serve right in the midst of people, whatever your neighborhood might look like. It might be rural, it might be urban, it might be predominantly black or white or mixed or whatever. It might be in a very busy city center kind of situation or more of a sleepy town like ours. There's a special blessing there. And I say, maybe when the weather breaks a little bit, let's bring back open window church. What if we challenge?
No, okay.
What?
We got air conditioners.
No. I'm talking about when if it get the fall, it's pleasant.
Okay, I got you.
What if we had like an open window Sunday, and all the churches that could open their windows. Open your window. Open window Sunday. Open the floodgates of heaven.
Let it rain.
Hey, just make sure your choir practice real good so they don't be,
Right. Please do.
But hey, it's been a great show, man. I appreciate it. Any other questions, comments? Mike, you want to add anything at the end here?
Nah, I'm cool.
I just want to say,
Mike didn't like this show apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
How many times you gonna say open the window?
I want to give a big shout out. I want to give a big shout out to all the men who have to take these chairs in and out for the outdoor services. Y'all are the MVP. Y'all the real MVPs.
Basically, Pastor Harrison by himself.
Because I ain't gonna.
No, we did it. We did the tents, like the other week. With the tents, the chairs.
Did you do it though? You said
of course.
You helped. No,
I personally helped put that tent up.
Did you take chairs out?
Annex Events did. We hired Annex Events.
And yes.
We hired Annex Events. Second Baptist Church hired Annex Events, and they did a phenomenal job.
They did. They done my daughter's party. So
I found out that they would have even set up our speakers, like at least just put the stuff out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm calling y'all next time.
They are the bomb.
I'm just going to plug up next time. Everything's going to be sitting out there. But no, I mean, yeah, definitely. Doing outdoor ministry or doing anything that engages the community takes work. It takes time. It takes effort, sweat and strength. So definitely appreciate it. And Pastor Harrison, I mean, everybody knows President Harrison is the king of outdoor services. He never stopped.
Up on the roof, changing satellites.
Rooftop, correct. Fixing his own ceilings, changing lights. God bless y'all. Man, it's been great, Pastor Jeff. I know we're both pretty beat after a long Saturday and a long Sunday.
Yes.
And so we got lots of great, content coming up the next few weeks. If you would like to be a sponsor of Religiously Incorrect, or you'd like to send in a meme, just shoot us an email at religiouslyincorrectpodcast@gmail.com. We haven't said it in a minute, but be sure to follow us, like, and subscribe on any and all platforms where you watch or listen to podcasts. We have an audio version that comes up, Spotify, Apple Music, all of your RSS feeds. You can look us up. We'd love to be your podcast of choice, and be sure to share us and share our page if you enjoy our show. If you do, I'll stop telling Norm Macdonald jokes. And I can't believe Karen's going to look up Norm Macdonald. She's going to be like, I don't get it.
She ain't going to get it.
Yeah, it's too bad. But thanks, y'all, for showing up. Until next time. Oh, we got to give a shout out. I know she's probably not on. Lady Dela Cruz isn't on. But I saw that it was Pastor Angel Dela Cruz's birthday.
He was on earlier.
He was on with us earlier?
I'm not sure if he's still watching. But
okay, well, happy birthday, Pastor Angel. We love you, man. You are a road dog. Got to get you back in real soon.
Real soon. It's coming.
And we're going to get you up. So y'all take care. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace, y'all.